so good to be back. Yo, what's up, world? Welcome back to the channel. APWSPORTS signing in, and welcome back to Season 5, Episode 2 of Chicago Bears Weekly. And in today's episode, we're going to cover, of course, some of the free agency moves that the Bears made throughout the course of this week. And one move that could potentially happen is a possible trade of Nick Foles, and where could he end up. But before I get into my thoughts on any of that, make sure you guys leave this video a like, as that helps this channel to continue to grow and it beats the YouTube algorithm. And if you are a first-time viewer, make sure you click that subscribe button and the notification bell so you will not miss any of the videos that I post. But it is time for Chicago Bears Weekly. Without further ado, let's dive into it.
I'm striving to get rich. That's why I almost went 2 years without buying shoes and fits. Things change now. My mom hearing me wear my music and she look a little prouder.
The Bears made a couple of free agent signings this week, and the first one I want to talk about is the signing of fullback Khari Blasingame from the Tennessee Titans. Now, Blasingame had a very solid season as a fullback from the Tennessee Titans. They were using him a little bit out of the backfield as far as throwing the football to him, and of course, he's been the lead fullback for Derrick Henry the last 2 seasons. Even the later part of last year when Derrick Henry missed time with a broken foot, Blasingame was still a very productive fullback. And personally, I like the signing of Blasingame because that tells you the Bears are going to finally bring back the element of a fullback to this offense, which has been missing in the Matt Nagy era. So Blasingame is a very solid black and fullback. He can do some things out of the backfield as well as far as the passing game goes. So overall, I really like the Bears getting their hands on Blasingame. He's very strong. He's speedy for a fullback, and he could be very productive in this Luke Getsy offense with Justin Fields. And like I said before, I really personally like the fact that the Bears are finally bringing a fullback back to help complement David Montgomery in the running game. So that is a big move for the Bears going forward. Another free agency move that the Bears made is on the offensive line, signing Dakota Dozier from the Minnesota Vikings. He's a very good interior presence, which the Bears need with the loss of James Daniels. Whitehair hasn't been really playing his same amount of football, so I really like the signing of Dakota Dozier to help beef up the Bears interior, along with Lucas Patrick on this offensive line, which we all know seeing last season lead at an absolute rebuild and an absolute restructure of this Chicago Bears offensive line. So the signing of Dakota Dozier to a 1-year deal is going to help with the offensive line depth, which the Bears have lacked, which is going to help a little bit with production, which the Bears have lacked, and it's going to give that bulldog mentality to this offensive line, which the Bears have lacked over the past couple of seasons. So the signing of Dakota Dozier to this Bears roster, it's not a big name, honey. It's not a big name signing, which I'm fine with because the Bears are in rebuild mode. He adds depth in the productivity role and a position where they most need it, which is the offensive line, which has basically struggled the past few seasons. So I like that signing as well. And the Bears gave an offer sheet to Ryan Bates from the Buffalo Bills, which is another interior presence, another guy who's feisty, another guy who can be productive as your franchise. So the Bears with Ryan Bates and Dakota Dozier, I'm hoping that the Bills don't match the offer sheet for Ryan Bates, because he can come in and be a starter and be very productive with this Bears offensive line. Like I said, it needed a rebuild, it needed a restructure, everything under the book. Ryan Poles is an offensive lineman himself, so he didn't like the offensive line that he had coming in, and to be honest, I didn't like it either, and most Bear fans can agree with me. That offensive line was terrible. So at the end of the day, Dakota Dozier and Ryan Bates adds depth, and they add productivity to the offensive line, which I believe was the weakest spot on this Bears offense and probably on this Bears roster. Now, the next signing that I want to touch on is the signing of backup quarterback Trevor Siemian. Now, Trevor Siemian has had a lot of starts in this league, whether it was his time with the Denver Broncos, whether he has spent some time in Minnesota. He spent some time with the Jets, and he spent the last 2 seasons with the New Orleans Saints, whether it was being a backup for Drew Brees or third string, or last year where he had a couple of starts with the Jameis Winston injury and Taysom Hill injury as well. Now, Trevor Siemian is a former Northwestern guy, so he comes almost kind of back home to the Chicago area and be the backup for Justin Fields, which I believe is a solid signing. You get a guy that's had some experience in this league. You get a guy, I'm not going to say he's been all worldly productive, but you get him at a cheaper price than you pay for Nick Foles to be a backup quarterback. So at the end of the day, you get a guy who has some experience, can help Fields a little bit with some tutelage, with some things that goes on in the NFL, because at the end of the day, Justin Fields is still a developing quarterback. And to get a piece like Trevor Siemian that can help him develop and probably get some spot time, whether it was maybe Fields' injury or something like that, you get a guy at a cheaper price than Nick Foles. You get a guy who still has some starter experience. He's been a backup to Peyton Manning in Denver. So he's been behind some all-time great quarterbacks, whether it was Manning and Drew Brees with the New Orleans Saints. So he has that element to him. And then he adds the element that he's started and been productive in games in this league. He's the perfect guy, I believe, can come in as a backup quarterback, not only help tutelage with Justin Fields, but possibly some spot duty at that. But the signing of Trevor Siemian leads me to the bulk of this video. The possibility for Nick Foles trades. Now, with the signing of Trevor Siemian, it is going to be obvious that the Bears are going to shop around Nick Foles. I have my 4 potential teams that could be very good possibilities for Nick Foles. Number 1, I'm going to go with the Seattle Seahawks as a possible trade possibility. Now, they did just acquire Drew Luck in the Russell Wilson trade, but if you have been watching my channel over the past year or 2, I've never been a big believer in Drew Luck. We all know that the Seattle Seahawks are basically in a rebuild mode with the trading of Russell Wilson and the releasing of Bobby Wagner, 2 cornerstone pieces that were there for a long haul, whether it was both of their Super Bowl appearances and after. Those 2 staples of their franchise have been there, so they are kind of in a rebuilding mode. They can get a guy that can still be somewhat productive in Nick Foles, and I believe you can get some assets back because Seattle is in that type of a rebuilding mode, and you can get a guy that can be a bridge, because I've said on the channel before, the quarterback class in this year's draft is, I don't think, nothing to really gloss on. So the Seattle Seahawks can be a very good possibility. One other possibility is the Houston Texans. Now, in the Houston Texans trade, I am surprised that they didn't get Baker Mayfield in return. Like the Seattle Seahawks, this Houston Texans franchise is also in a rebuild mode under former Bear head coach Lovie Smith. And you can get a guy like Nick Foles, maybe Davis Mills. He can be a backup for Davis Mills if the franchise believes Mills is a starter, or if they don't have faith in Mills, you can bring Nick Foles in as that bridge as well, and they can do some possible things at their quarterback position for the Houston Texans' future. And another team, I have 2 more teams, another team that could possibly be a destination, the New York Giants. Now, Daniel Jones, they're going to still go a little bit all in on Daniel Jones. But just in case Daniel Jones does not work out, you do have Nick Foles as a backup. The Giants are not going to be in the quarterback market, so they don't have to worry about trying to necessarily get their franchise quarterback now. And Nick Foles has had experience in the backup role. He does get to be under Brian Daboll, who I think is a very good offensive mind. And if Daniel Jones necessarily does not work out, you can have Nick Foles plug him in and play, and then they can worry about their quarterback situation down the line, because they don't have to worry about it this year. They still have into next year to really worry about it if Daniel Jones does not pan out. So I believe the New York Giants can be a very good fit, and I believe the last fit for him can be the Carolina Panthers. Now, Sam Darnold did not work out, and the bringing back of Cam Newton did not work out. I believe the Carolina Panthers are still on the market for a quarterback. Even if they decide to draft one this year, Nick Foles can come in as a guy and be a bridge to whatever guy they take in the draft. And like I said before, this quarterback draft is not really great in my opinion. Nick Foles can go into this Carolina Panthers offense and be the immediately starter. Now, the Carolina Panthers, I don't think are going to win any divisions or anything like that with Nick Foles, but he could give you that kind of steady level play at that quarterback position that the Carolina Panthers would need, and he could buy the Carolina Panthers some time to get things together with the quarterback that I think they're probably going to draft maybe this year or maybe next year. So those are the 4 teams. The Seahawks, the Giants, the Texans, and the Carolina Panthers could be potential destinations for Nick Foles. And the Bears can acquire more draft assets back, and they can get off of that $4 million salary that Nick Foles is going to have. So the signing of Trevor Siemian does open up the opportunity for the Bears to deal Nick Foles and get value back for him, which I think is going to be best for this Bears franchise moving forward to get more draft assets, because some of those draft assets were traded by the previous regime and Ryan Pace. Ryan Poles has been making moves to get assets back, and a move for Nick Foles makes sense to get draft assets back for the Bears, not only this year, but for next year, to help the rebuild and the building of this Chicago Bears roster. That is all I have for you guys today. Make sure you guys leave this video a like. That always helps this channel to grow and beats the YouTube algorithm. Comment your thoughts down below. And as always, click that subscribe button and notification bell so you will not miss any of the videos that I post on this channel. But that concludes Season 5, Episode 2 of Chicago Bears Weekly. I am APW Sports signing out. Make sure you guys stay safe. Have a great and excellent day, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Peace.